Hello everybody, my name is FantasyHawkeye and welcome to the Fantasy Hawkeye show here on YouTube. This is now a rebranded channel to my podcast here on YouTube, is essentially what this is gonna be. This is something that I have been wanting to do for a very long time, and today is the intro episode into what the show will consist of, why I'm doing it now, and basically so on and so forth. So let's get right into it with a little bit of history about myself. Sports history, that is. I am a huge Iowa Hawkeyes fan living in Omaha, Nebraska. I have had a huge, loving, supporting cast for a very long time, really. My entire life, really, into, like, why haven't you done this? Why are you waiting? Why are you not in the YouTube business doing, talking about sports and that? And I told them, I'm working on stuff. I really want to do this, but I need the right equipment to do it. And I'll get more into why I didn't get into it sooner, more so in a little bit here. There's some huge history behind that I'll get to here in just a minute. But really more about me is, I will be covering college football, NFL football, NBA, WNBA, Major League Baseball, golf, hockey, so on and so forth here. My only, how do I put this the right way? My only pro team is actually, I am a Chicago Cubs fan. That is really my only pro team, I would say. And other than that, I am neutral in the rest of the pro sports. I'm a Hawkeyes fan and I'm a Cubs fan. So that's what you're getting here out of me, quite frankly. And you can see all the, I don't know if you can see it that well, but I've got all of the Iowa stuff here right behind me here. I'm just pointing my finger around like a doofus here. So anyway, let's go ahead here. So today's episode is really just going to be an intro episode. I'm going to talk more about myself, why we're doing this now, my history with sports and learning it, and learning the games as when I was a kid, and so on and so forth. So how did I get into sports? We're going to start with that here, obviously, first. I've had a passion for sports my entire life. I learned sports through playing the old video games on the PS2 era and the PS3 era. I was born in 1997. I'm 29 years old. I remember playing NFL 2K5 back in the day. I played Madden 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005. I don't remember which college football titles I played back in the day, but I played NCAA 14, which is my favorite college football game of all time. I have played 2025, and I have played 2026. I'm not sure if I'm going to get 27 yet or not. I don't really play a lot of sports video games right now, but that's a different story for a different day. My dad taught me a lot about football as well, and what made me an Iowa fan today. He went to Iowa. My whole dad's side of the family's from out in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So I always I always tell my friends at work or whatever, or friends out and about, because I live in Omaha. I mean, I'm living with a bunch of Nebraska fans. They're like, why are you an Iowa fan? I'm like, well, blame my dad's side of the family. That's what I always say. John Madden was a huge inspiration to me. He taught me a lot about the NFL, watching him commentate through the years, watching games that he commentated, and really all those commentators, Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, I'm a huge fan of as well. They taught me a lot about the game. Al Michaels taught me a lot about the game. Just like the analytical aspects of it and everything. Adam Schefter taught me a lot as well. Chris Mortensen. So, no, I learned a lot from, watching ESPN, watching, Sports Center. I'm a visual guy, so I didn't learn through reading books, through reading through history of sports. At the time, when I was a kid, I learned sports through current events in sports. Like, when I was, when I was younger, I would turn on Sports Center. I didn't watch a lot. I watched kids shows, but, like, I wasn't, like, big into them. Like, before school, like, I would turn on Sports Center. I wouldn't turn on, like, SpongeBob, which I'm still a huge fan of to this day. I watch SpongeBob all the time. And, by the way, if my lighting here got a little bit odd, I just turned on my lights. I turned on an extra set of lights. I'm sorry about that. But, you know, but anyway, where was I? Oh, yes. But I got into, and I'm going completely off script here, by the way. I type these things up, and then I go completely off script into different directions. Like, what the heck am I doing here? Anyway, I'm just babbling along here. But hey, I'll keep babbling here. So, regardless, though, I didn't turn on, I didn't turn on a lot of kids' shows as a kid. My entertainment was sports. My entertainment was learning sports, was getting into sports, was watching sports. That was, besides video games, as a kid, playing sports video games, this was my entertainment, was watching sporting events, watching, the big sporting events. I watch, the Masters every year still to this day, watching college football and NFL football and, on Sundays, watching MLB baseball all summer as a kid, when I was a kid growing up. That's how I learned. I learned through watching. And then, of course, Kirk Ferentz is a huge inspiration to mine as well. He does things right. And, if I ever ran a football program, I would do it the way that he would do it. I would run it the way that he would. And I'm sorry, I'm getting all tracked off here. I'm not paying, focus here. I go all over the place, alright? I go all over the place when I talk and babble. So just bear with that in mind here. This is a podcast. I'm not looking at the camera every freaking second of the day, alright? So that's how I got into sports in general. Mainly through video games and all that sort of stuff. Now, how I got into basketball was actually a different story. I did play games like college. I played college basketball 2K8. One of the greatest basketball games of all time. That was really the only game, however, that I really played when I was younger that I can recall. I never really got into the PS2 NBA stuff. I really didn't get into the NBA, I would say, until probably high school-ish. I didn't really get big into the end. I followed it. I watched Kobe's career. I watched Tim Duncan's career. I watched Shaq's career. I've watched LeBron's career. I watched The Last Dance, too, learning about the Bulls of the 90s, which is one of the best sports documentaries ever, I would say. But I would say, really, the year that when the Mavs beat LeBron in the finals was really the first year I really got engaged into the NBA finals. And then from there, I really started watching, more so just playoffs in the NBA. And, more and more time went on, I just started, following the league more, watching it more, watching, games more. I've paid for NBA League Pass now the last 3 seasons. I don't plan on getting rid of it at all. I watch a game every night on League Pass, or at least I try to anyway, once a night, maybe once every couple of nights or so, give or take, or so on average, I would say. But really, I got into the league a lot older, but I still knew a lot of big names. I still knew, Allen Iverson, Vince Carter. I watched young LeBron. I knew about Paul Pierce. I knew about Kevin Garnett, in their prime. Steve Nash. So on a lot of those old coaches. So I got into the league much later than I wish I would have in life. I wish that I had gotten into the league as a kid more than I did. But I watched the league a lot more than I do now. But I learned basketball, generally speaking, through watching more of the college game. And you could say that really about the NFL as well, because, like, I grew up watching the college games. I grew up mostly watching college games of Iowa, particularly for basketball. Now, I grew up, too, watching the NFL, like I talked about before. I watched on, I loved listening to John Madden commentate football games. I loved listening to, Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, who I still love to listen to today. I really like listening to Jim Nantz commentate for CBS. I love Ian Eagle for CBS. Charles Davis, all those guys there too. And some of the older guys, I can't remember a lot of names. I was a kid, all right, when I was watching a lot of this stuff, all right? But you kind of get the idea of where I'm kind of going with this, I hope. And nowadays, I do watch a lot more basketball, pro-wise. I watch a lot more NFL football. I love it to death, and I plan on continuing to watch it throughout the rest of my life. For MLB baseball, I've been watching that my entire life as well. Not just football and basketball. I watched baseball as well. When I was a Cub, so I've been a Cubs fan my whole life, and I went to bed in Game 6 of the I went to bed during the Steve Bartman game. I went to bed early. The Cubs were up big. I went to bed early because we were thinking, like, yeah, we're ready to go here, we're ready to go here. Let's do this thing. And, sorry, my phone just buzzed. And I need to check that, sorry. And, when I was watching, that game, and I woke up the next morning and I found out the Cubs lost and I cried. And that's how my parents knew I became a Cubs fan. That is how my parents knew I was a Cubs fan. And I have been ever since. And 2016 will always be my favorite year in all of sports, regardless of what happens, whether we win another title in my life or not. It will always be my favorite year for sure. Other sports, golf. I watched a lot of golf. I still mainly do watch the NHL during the playoffs. I still occasionally keep an eye, on big games and that. I keep an eye on it more so now than I did as a kid, I would say. The WNBA I watch a lot more than I had, in the past. I've really only been watching it since Megan Gustafson got into the league, a former Iowa player there. I kept an eye on it, but I really started, watching the league when Caitlin Clark got into it. Got into the WNBA. So now I'm going to be going into more of the history factor of the show and why I'm doing it now. So about 11... Now, I've done this before. And if there's anybody out there who knew of a show 11 years ago, this was in the fall of 2014, 2015 academic year. I was a senior in high school. And the administration let me do a show called Sports Rants. If any of you out there, if you're in Omaha, if any of you out there have ever heard of this, in fact, you know what? Let me grab something real quick out of under my bed. Give me 1 second here. These are going to be non-edited videos too. I'm going to keep talking here, but I just need 1 second here. I need to figure out if I can get to this easily or not. Because I have, under my bed, yes, here we go. This is it. Alright. You guys are never going to freaking believe what I'm about to show you real quick here. Alright. This is me 11 years ago. This is me 11 years ago, everybody. I have been an avid sports fan my whole damn life. And and we'll get to more on that in a little bit. But that was me 11 years ago. And if any of you out there, as I'm putting this stuff away here, I'm sorry. Alright. If anybody out there remembers me, knows of the show, knows of any of that, any of my old high school people out there, if anybody ever, I mean, if you know anybody who went to the Ralston High School in the year 2015, tell them that I'm back. Tell them that I'm back. And I'm sorry if I'm being too loud or anything. I seriously apologize for that. But seriously, let them know I'm back. Alright? Let them know I'm back. I'm not big into social media. Alright? I got rid of Twitter earlier this year. I got rid of a lot of my other social medias. I have a Blue Sky. Same handle is up here, by the way. FantasyHawkeye. Same handle and everything. Follow me over there. I do sports content over there as well. But overall, like, if you... But, like, I don't do a lot of social media anymore. I don't know where any... If you ever hear about this, if you're out there, I know people are out there. If there are people out there from that class that find out about this, let me know down in the comment section below. Let me know, because I'd love to hear from some of you again. I really miss you all to death. You all were incredible people. I still remember too, and this is off script again, by the way. I still remember too. If you all remember, I walked down the aisle at graduation, down the aisle in the Ralston Arena, and I'm the one who got that crowd pumped up. I'm the one who got that crowd pumped up. And I know, if anyone's out there, you're freaking excited for me being back. I know you are. If anybody ever finds out about this, or finds me, I know you are very, very excited to have me back on air. I'm sure you will be. Alright, anyway, so back to that now. So, I was a senior in high school. We did this through home. So, we did this whole show through homeroom. Talked about sports once a week. I was offered the spot. I was offered the opportunity. I accepted it. They had no idea what the heck I was going to do episode 1. They thought I could walk out, for crying out loud. So this was kind of a test. Oh, I freaking thrived. You put me on a scene talking about sports and I can go on forever like we're doing right now. The show thrived at the school, and I know all of those kids loved it. I know all of them loved it. And I still run into a couple of you once in a great while. And if any of you are out there, let me know. Alright? By the way, and for those of you who actually know me, let me know. I'll tell you how everything's going. A lot has changed for me personally in the last 10 years. 11 years. A lot has changed for me health-wise. So if any of you want to know what's going on, you're more than welcome to asking me. I will tell you everything that's happened. I'm not going to mention any of that here, though. So, that was the final episode that I showed you there in that paper. And they brought in the Ralston Recorder, which was a Ralston newspaper. They brought in, all sorts of personalities for me to talk to. I had a 2-hour lunch special in the lunchroom. They brought in 1620 to Zone. I had a 20-page outline that day of stuff to just babble over. And locally, on Twitter that day, I was trending. I was trending on Twitter locally that day. And all those kids loved me to death. They really did. And I appreciated all their support. I really, really did. They were amazing individuals. They all loved me to death. They all knew all my pre-existing health conditions. They all knew my health. So, I mean, I still think of, but if any of you are out there today, I still think about you a lot. I still think about a lot of you a lot. Hoping that you all are doing great. Hoping that your life has been absolutely fantastic. And I pray for you guys every day. I really do pray for you all, all my friends in high school, every single day. I really, really do. Alrighty, so there was one regret that I had during the show, the final show. I had a line that I was going to repeat at the end of each segment because I wanted the kids to actually hear it live. Here was the line. The show is not truly over. I am announcing it in June. I will be continuing and rebranding over on my YouTube page and calling it the Fantasy Hawkeye Show. If I had done that, I would not be here today. I would not be here today recording this episode for all of you. We would probably be talking regular sports today. And it pains me that I never did it. But here was the problem. I never had the equipment. I never had the setup that I really wanted. I really, really, really wanted to do this, though. I really did. I so wanted to say it so freaking hard. But I never had the setup that I do now. I never had the space that I do now. I never had the time that I do now. And I wish I had. But better late than never, because now I'm doing this. Now I'm doing this for good. And we are back, alright? I'm not going away at all. This is the best time of my life to start this up. I wish that I had done it more earlier, but this is long overdue, simply speaking. This whole idea is really, really long overdue, and I truly wish to this day that I had done it sooner. I really, really do. I really do. God. I'm sorry, I'm just... Gets me a little bit emotional thinking about it. You know what I mean? Like, it gets me a little bit emotional just thinking about it, you know? What could have been. I mean, you all think that, you know? I mean, regrets not. You all think that, you know? You know what I mean? I mean, like, I'm sure there's all of you out there that think that as well. But I'm going to be building a new community here. You know, we're going to have fun. I'm going to do this for good. We're going to have fun. All right? But I would love to reach some of those old friends again. And I hope I can through this. I really do. I really do. So now that that's all taken care of, now I want to talk about how this show is actually going to work. This is the more serious part that I really wanted to get into here. So there are going to be no rules and regulations that I'm going to put on myself. I'm not going to edit these videos. All episodes, by the way, are viewer discretion is advised due to language and bad words, by the way. Due to bad language. I will probably cuss on the show. Any episode will go any length. I can talk about anything. I mean, any episode could be on anything sports related. These are going to be non-edited episodes. Now, the reason why I'm going non-edited is because I want to show my personality. I want to put my personality into it, express myself. How I talk to people about, you know, sports, whether it's in life in general, with my friends, or in, at my job as well. How I put this. This is what that aspect is what you're getting here. You're not going to get episodes with cuts and such in a podcast. I'm just not that guy. You're getting the real deal. You're going to get me on a platter. You're getting me on a screen. You're getting me. And just who I am as a person. And I want to be able to express that in the best way possible. And by the best way possible, I don't think we can do episodes that really have any edits. I just can't. I just can't. Some episodes, there may be episodes once a week. There may be an episode, There may be an episode a couple times a week. There may be an episode 3 times a week. I really don't know. It's gonna be, season-based. Each episode, that will always have strong opinions on each topic I bring up. And there is going to be one topic today at the end of this that I am going to be bringing up today. And we'll get to that near the end of the episode. So, after we get through all this why and stuff, all the intro stuff. So, each academic year is going to be a season of the show. So, season 1 is going to be the academic year between 2026 and 27. These are going to typically run after the 4th of July until the following 4th of July. That's just how the playlists are going to be formatted and how I get this all set up. I think it makes sense. Because, think about it like this, okay? Academic years. Alright, academic years here. So, academic years for my school district typically run from late August until right before Memorial Day. And, you have your summer break. So I figured I could run this show from July, after the NBA Finals until, do the NBA offseason stuff until the end of another Finals. And then we start up again talking about, sports, so on and so forth. Talking about sports in general. Because really, it's, baseball in the summer, it's golf in the summer. I'm not going to do an episode recapping every single day of baseball. I'm just going to put that out there right now. I'm not doing that. So, this is kind of the format that I'm thinking of. So, after the NBA Finals, after the Stanley Cup Finals, I don't really know. I'm still trying to kind of tool with this. I want to essentially do one playlist for every 11 or 12 month period, essentially, and call it a season. Like I said before, I plan to post at least 1 week on average. Not, however, a guarantee. We're just going to kind of see how things go in that regard. But, looking at my notes here, I'm sorry. But, some weeks we may get 2 episodes. Some weeks I may do 3. I really don't know. It's just going to kind of depend on how long episodes are. I need to get into a flow is what I really need to do. I need to get into the flow of things just to really see and go, okay, what is the best formula here for me to put out the stuff that I truly, A, want to put out, B, can handle, and C, life-wise, and really working around life and everything, and then C, just kind of seeing how things go. There's going to be a lot of adjusting. There's going to be a lot of change, probably. There's going to be a lot of adjustments. I really need to figure out the right flow. And I don't know what the right flow is. I don't know. So, you know what I mean? So, we're just going to kind of play it by ear. Just kind of see how it goes. And for each individual sport, too, for each time of the year as well, who knows what's going to happen there. And really, current events in sports. So, basketball, I watch college basketball in November, but, I'm not big, but, I don't watch a lot of NBA until Christmas. Christmas to me, the Christmas Day games to me, is opening day for NBA for me. Now, used to be, I should say. I do watch a game on I do try to watch a game, like I said, on NBA League Pass. At least once a night. And I still, keep an eye on standings and everything going on in the league. If there's breaking news or something, I'm gonna go ahead and, break that to you guys. I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna, bring up my thoughts on that news. But I'm not going to be able to get around to everything. I'm just not. Alright? I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about, and I want to prove my points out to the world on what I want to talk about. And that's really the point of this whole thing. To put my voice out there. To put my thoughts and perspectives into sports out there. if that makes sense. Alright, so that is pretty much the end of the intro. We are at 30 minutes, by the way. 30 minutes and 4 seconds. I'm looking at OBS right now, looking at my recorded timer there. So, really good length, obviously, here. The one topic that I did want to discuss today. In college sports, there is a new 5-for-5 age-based eligibility rule. And I wanted to talk about this in sort of like a general college football fan's perspective and in an Iowa fan's perspective. So let's talk about it in a general college football fan's perspective and what they really can expect. So if I'm understanding the rule right, and I may not be, here's what it is. If you are a senior in the academic year of 2026 and 2027, you are allowed to come back next year, the following year, and use that 5th year. If you are a college student that is going to be a freshman, sophomore, or junior this year, same goes for you as well. If you were a senior in the year 25 and 26, unfortunately, you're not eligible for the rule. You can't go back to college. But if you are going to be in the freshman 2027 class, so the fall of 2027, not the fall of 2026, but the fall of 2027, you don't have a choice. You are actually going to be implemented automatically into the 5-for-5 rule. Now, I like the way they set this up. I think it makes sense. And what this 5-by-5 rule really does, from what I understand, is there are no more red shirts and there are no more medical waivers. So, for example, there is no more 6-year player. So, like, if this had happened last year, Iowa offensive lineman Mike Malinsky wouldn't have been able to come back. He wouldn't have been able to come back and get his 6th year due to injury. He wouldn't have been able to do that. So, but now he can because, he got that waiver before the rule went into effect. He got the waiver before the rule went into effect. But if the rule had been put in first, then he wouldn't have been able to get the waiver, if that makes sense. So, anyway. No more medical red shirts, no more red shirts in general. So there's no more 4-game red shirt rule in college football, which does impact Iowa and developmental programs in a big way. And we'll get to that here in a minute. But, one second, sorry. Pardon me, sorry. How do I want to put this the right way? But what this rule really does is it takes care of a problem in college sports. It takes care of no more TJ Finleys. It takes care of no medical red shirts. No more 6, 7, 8 year guys, essentially. 5-for-5 meaning you're in college 5 years, and then you're out regardless. You're done. You're done. You're out of eligibility. You're done. At that point, essentially, is what this rule means. If I'm making sense here. So, for this rule to work, for Iowa, from an Iowa fan's perspective, as you all know, we're more of a developmental program when it comes to football. We're more of a developmental program when it comes to football. And, I know for a fact that if this rule were in effect in the early 2000s, in the early 2010s, even around COVID, in the mid-2010s, I guarantee you right now, there are a lot of kids that would have come back for that 5th year and used it. I guarantee you there would have been. And they would have come back for Kirk. Because we hear all the time, because I hear all the time, hear about, read about, student athletes saying all these years, saying, oh yeah, I wish that I would have stayed, and I love Kirk to death, and all this sort of stuff, and we all do as fans too. We all love Kirk to death. He's built the right program. But anyway, enough of that for now. We're talking about more so the rule aspect of this. So 5 years, it's going to be huge for Iowa. It's going to be huge. Just to have these kids have the opportunity to have a 5th year guaranteed instead of having, red shirts and maybe a 4th year is awesome. And it's awesome, for a developmental program like Iowa. Now, the problem is going to be, and we'll get more into this another time, but the problem's going to be with recruiting. And what I mean by that is remember when they cut the roster? Remember when they cut the rosters down in college football in particular? Remember when they cut the rosters down to, I believe it was like 85 or something. I don't remember what the number was. Was it 105, 85, something like that from like 120 or something? And then all those guys had to leave. And then, all these teams had, cut all these guys, because, they had to make space in order to, for the new rule or whatever. If y'all remember that. Anyway, we're going to be seeing a lot of that again, I think. And the reason I say that is because you're going to have kids who are like, hey, I want to come back for a 5th year. I want to come back for a 5th year. I want to come back for a 5th year. I want to come back for a 5th year. Well, not all of them are necessarily going to be able to do that. Not all of them are going to necessarily want to do that. They're going to, top guys are going to want to go to the NFL. They're going to want to, get their money, so on and so forth, which I totally understand. But to have them have this opportunity is the point of this. To have the opportunity instead of having, the red shirt deal. So for me, and looking at this from an Iowa fan's perspective, as a developmental program, it's going to help us out a lot. There is no... How do I want to put this the right way? There is always a benefit to this rule. There's no negative to this rule for any college at all. The only thing it doesn't do is it doesn't say, like, I'm just going to give you an example. Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State. He's going to probably end up leaving after his junior. He could end up leaving after next year, after next football season. He could go to that draft if he wanted to. It's not going to stop that. It's also not going to stop kids from saying, hey, you know what? I want to play a 5th year. And I'm talking like the freshmen, the sophomores, and the juniors now. I'm not talking about the kids that are going to be in the 5-age model now. The clog is going to be between now and through like I did the math, and it's going to be through like 2031. Through the end of the 2031 academic year, 2031 academic year is really where that clog is going to happen in college sports in general. But anyway, and I'm talking all sports here too. It's going to happen with all the sports too, quite frankly. It's going to happen with all of them, to be honest with you. And there will be circumstances in which, teams are going to say, colleges are going to say, hey, you know what, we'd love to have you, we want you to stay, but, there will be forcing to the portal is what I'm saying. There is going to be forcing to the portal is all I'm really trying to implement here, if I'm making sense. I know my camera's grainy and such too. I know my camera's horrible. I'm just using my computer's webcam. It's freaking horrible. I need a new camera. I didn't get that far yet, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna roll with the punches, So that's really all my thoughts on that, basically. I think it's beneficial for everyone. It's not negative for anyone. And it gets rid of a problem in college sports. But we'll have to wait and see, what else happens. Oh, and speaking of which, portal, remember now. College football portal. 15 days to 10 days now. It's a good step, but again, something else needs to happen there. But that's all I'll say about that right now, though. We'll get more into that as we get into, portal season and all that. We'll get more into that at that point as well. So, thank you all for watching today's episode. That's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, today's episode is probably going to be... So each episode is going to be live probably maybe the next day. I'm recording these on the date shown on the screen. So today is June 29th. It may not go public until the 30th. I'm not sure. Haven't decided that yet. But, and this may go live tonight. I don't know. But, regardless, though, the next episode is not going to happen until at least after the 4th of July. I want to get through the weekend. I want to, get through the 4th of July weekend. By the way, I hope you all have a safe and happy 4th of July weekend. Enjoy the time with your family, friends, whatever you're doing, what have you. And, yeah, I think that's everything. Alrighty, y'all. I will see you, or I will be back, hopefully next week, maybe the week after. We're going to go over some NBA free agents. We're going to go over my thoughts on the prime time for NBA free agency. We're going to go, I think that'll be the main topic of discussion next week. On the episode that I record either next week or the week after. It may even be the week after. I'm not sure. But we'll just kind of, see what happens, see how life goes, so on and so forth, though. I don't know how often I'll post. I'm going to try, though, to do an episode at least once a week, like I said. I'm rambling on here. I'm going to let you all go. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like on the video. Subscribe if you want to. And I will see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.